on Australia's business channel. This is Mediaweek.
Hello and welcome to a special Media Week. This week live at the annual gathering of the subscription TV industry, the Astra Conference. Ahead we'll be hearing how the NBN could impact pay TV, an industry already dealing with a very cautious consumer, the rise in free-to-air digital channels and IPTV offerings, and all that of course as the regulatory landscape could be about to change again. Well, joining us on the show, as always, our co-host, the editor and publisher of Mediaweek, James Manning. James, good to see you. And to start the show, we have with us the CEO of Astra, Petra Buchanan. Petra, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure.
Well, first I wanted to ask you about the theme of the conference being driving change. And of course, there is so much happening at the moment. Convergence Review, Finkelstein, NBN. What do you think is the biggest challenge for the industry?
I think it's the combination of everything. It's the competitive pressures, but it's also the regulatory and the policy settings that are potentially evolving and changing, on an imminent basis. So it's really all of that tied together, and what does that mean in terms of the industry, decisions to be made, acquisition of Austar by Foxtel. So there's just a lot that is pending.
Petra, the sector talks a lot about the regulatory hurdles you always face, and that seems to be tilted in favour of free-to-air, perhaps. We're seeing some movement on the anti-siphoning list. Do you know much what we'll see there?
Well, look, it was the bill was entered into Parliament today. We're happy that we're seeing progress with it. The draft of the bill, which it correlates to the decisions that were announced by the Minister back in November of 2010. And really what that means is the implementation of the use it or lose it provisions, which takes a number of events, about 300, off the anti-siphoning list. However, that said, it's still got 1,000 events on the list, and we still find that it is, one of the most anti-competitive pieces of legislation. So it's still, a continued hurdle for us, but there's progress there.
You've had a very busy day, a lot still to go on. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you both.
Petra Buchanan, their CEO of Astra. Now, the keynote speaker at the conference today was Kevin McClellan, the president of international television at NBC Universal International. And James, he had some really interesting comments, and you were actually the only person to get a one-on-one interview with him. And he was very positive about where he sees the Australian subscription TV industry growing, the growth in penetration.
Yeah, actually ranks Australia in his sort of top 5 markets to watch. We couldn't get him to say what his top 4 were, but he said, look, Australia's right up there, a lot of potential for growth. And he's very bullish on the future of television. There's lots of chat about, all the threats out there to sort of linear TV channels. But look, he said it's not going anywhere.
Let's have a little listen to what Kevin McClellan had to say a little earlier.
Really high GDP with the potential for a very high ARPU, particularly when you're looking at a triple play package, which was unimaginable 12 years ago. And you have the ability to actually drive significant revenues because your penetration right now is lower than it is elsewhere in the world with similar economics. So to me, I look at it and I say, even if you just raise penetration 20%, that's a home run. So I would put Australia right there at my top 5 countries for what I'm going to be paying attention to over the next 5 years. And there's a lot of economic factors why that makes sense to me. I think the moves that are happening now, essentially I think the DTT channels that Free TV started and the success that they've been seeing is a good thing for this market. And I don't know that Richard would agree with me, but I think it's a good thing for Foxtel and Austar. And the reason I think it's a good thing is that competition drives innovation. It drives better pricing for consumers. And it drives us to create more original programming, right? And we have seen original programming in many, many markets, and you're seeing it more and more in Australia, drives innovation and storytelling and all those things that matter in the long term, right? So it's forcing that to happen in this market. So from my perspective, DTT is a good thing for the pay TV industry and will help grow the pay TV industry. And I definitely think that the National Broadband Network is a good thing for the subscription business as a whole, right? So you've seen the success of Netflix and in the UK, Love Film and similar businesses like that. That absolutely should be another part of the model here. The best model for driving penetration of subscription television, strong incumbents and smart, original, entrepreneurial upstarts.
Go. There was Kevin McClellan there, the keynote speaker from NBC Universal. Now, of course, we also got the platform updates from the bosses, the CEOs of the subscription TV operators, providers in Australia, including Foxtel CEO Richard Freudenstein. And it was really interesting because he unveiled some details about the London Olympics package coming, James.
Yeah, that's good news if you're a Foxtel subscriber. No extra charge for all their extra HD channels they'll be running across the games, and also be letting people watch on companion devices, which will be pretty interesting. A lot of people will describe this as being free, but you can bet the free-to-air rights holders will be pointing out, well, it's not actually free. You've got to be a Foxtel subscriber.
And the companion device?
So you'll be able to watch it on your television and sit there with a tablet as well, and be watching another channel or interacting with the on social media or whatever, but keeping a couple of screens going, which will be pretty revolutionary, I think.
Also, of course, commenting on the ACCC decision due on the merger with Austar, but also, of course, talking about the regulatory landscape and some of the changes being mooted. Here's a little of what the Foxtel CEO Richard Freudenstein had to say about that.
One is to say anti-siphoning. There was an agreement reached in November 2010. I don't think anyone was particularly happy with the outcome, but we just want that now to be legislated, and we hope that as we go through the legislative process we're in at the moment, that will happen. Secondly, on convergence, I wanted to just sort of repeat what Steve said earlier on. I mean, the Convergence Review is a huge opportunity to reset regulation in this country. I fear that the interim report lends itself to more regulation rather than less regulation. It lends itself to regulating players like us and new players, and taking regulation away from those that get all the benefits of regulation at the moment, being the free-to-air networks, and we just need a level playing field, and I hope that submissions to the Convergence Review will see that change. And thirdly, I did just want to mention the Finkelstein report. As a media organisation, we strongly reject the recommendations of that report. Firstly, it's bizarre that a review that was meant to be about print and online makes recommendations about the television industry when neither we nor our free-to-air competitors had a chance to submit to that review. So very bizarre. But secondly, the whole idea of government bodies regulating freedom of the press is a dangerous, slippery slope that none of us want to go down. So we want to move away from that.
So that was the Foxtel CEO there talking about some of those regulatory changes possible there for the industry. Now, of course, we also had an amazing speech, really, from the Austar CEO, John Porter. Of course, the decision due, well, within a week, we're hearing, on the merger with Foxtel. And John, it really sounded like a farewell speech, the update that you gave earlier. And there was a lot of emotional people in the audience listening to you.
Oh, certainly. It's been an amazing journey over 17 years. When I got here, there was no subscription television industry. So, it's not just Austar, but a lot of people in the industry have kind of grown up together. And, it's been a great ride. And, a lot of these guys are all going to still be around. I probably won't, but, we're only halfway there. So we've got a lot more work to do. And, but it's been a privilege for me to be part of the birthing of this industry.
A bit of speculation in the press this week. Champ might be putting you to good use again in the future. Could you have a tie to the out-of-home sector sometime?
Well, I have a great relationship with Champ. Obviously, they were investors in Austar between 2002 and 2005. I've often, discussed with Bill the possibility of working with him on media opportunities with the fund, and it's likely that there'll be some announcements on that front sometime soon.
So you are pretty confident, I guess, going back to the ACCC, that the decision will come down in favour of the deal?
Well, look, I think it's going to come down in favour because we have a very clear view that this does not result in a substantial lessening of competition. That being said, there's already a lot on the table that I think will create a better opportunity for IP players, particularly people who are intending to use the NBN and existing internet infrastructure to deliver a range of programming. So that's the emerging front in multi-channel digital home entertainment, which is what you can get over the network. And I think there are some things on the table that are going to really be a plus, and obviously if this deal doesn't happen, those things won't be there. So I think there's the prevailing evidence is that it's a win-win for the market, for the consumer, and obviously for Foxtel if this deal gets approved.
Could I ask you a quick question about penetration? We're hearing a lot about that today. Let's just assume, say you were appointed the chief executive of Foxstar, the newly merged company. What sort of things would you tackle straight away to try and get those numbers up?
Well, it's kind of a old school product pricing, packaging, positioning, the P's, the 3 P's or 4 P's or whatever. You know, obviously you can't keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. So I think we've got to look at our price points. I think we've got to look at what the value proposition. You know, there's no home run. I think we're going to have, it's going to be an incrementalization. We're going to attract people to lower price tiers. We're going to provide more value at the top end. I think one thing that we've seen internationally is that transactional services delivered over the internet into the pay television set-top box really creates a lot of value and creates a lot of stickiness. So in our industry, we really don't have a sales problem. We've got a churn opportunity, which is, you know, if everybody who signed up for this thing kept it, you know, we'd be at 60% penetration already. So, you know, we got to make our product more sticky and, you know, lift acquisitions through smart programming deals like the AFL deal and other things like that.
Really interesting hearing your comments recently too about the impact that the NBN could have on the industry. It seems like that the Foxtel CEO, your Foxtel counterpart Richard Freudenstein, doesn't perhaps agree with you. He sort of thinks that the content gives you the edge when it comes to the NBN and the impact on subscription TV. What do you think? I mean, is piracy a real threat to the industry?
Well, I have the luxury of taking the sort of looking at the big picture. You know, Richard obviously feels very strongly about his business's ability to succeed in this environment, but there is no question that there are going to be alternative ways to entertain yourself in the home, and that's all coming through the IP space. You know, we already have Apple TV, we already have iTunes, we already have YouTube with, you know, developing its own channels. We'll have a better Hulu in Australia. We'll probably have Netflix in Australia. You know, so look, none of them is as powerful as you know, the portfolio of channels that Foxtel and All-Star offer. But you know, they could chip away if we don't get it right for consumers. We don't give customers what they want, and we don't give them something that they just absolutely love. Which I think we're 80% of the way there with a great PDR and there's some really great channels, but we've got to get the rest of the way if we're going to be able to withstand, you know, alternatives. If we don't give the customers what they want, somebody will. So that's what we've got to do.
It's been great to talk to you today. Thanks so much.
Great privilege. Good luck to you guys.
All-Star CEO John Porter there. Thank you very much. And we've got plenty more coming up for you on this special live Media Week program from the Subscription TV annual gathering, the Astra Conference.